the bottom of the power line, 100 feet from our house, was a Sasquatch, right like this, looking right at me.
Oh, dear. This pillow.
Venturing into the remote forests of North America can feel like entering another world. But what happens when the shadows themselves seem alive? Tonight, we uncover 7 terrifying encounters with creatures that shouldn't exist. Stories that will make you question every rustle, every shadow, and every step you take when you think you're truly alone in the wilderness. On Animal Planet, the journey begins in Whitehall, the heart of the East Coast Bigfoot story. In this town, one name rises above all others: Paul Bartholomew. A lifelong local and seasoned researcher, Paul has spent decades tracking sightings and interviewing witnesses. For the team, he becomes the essential guide to the history, the hotspots, and the newest reports shaping the mystery today.
If you mention Bigfoot to anyone in Whitehall, they're going to tell you, you got to talk to Paul Bartholomew.
Paul?
Hi, how are you?
Paul's a born and raised Whitehall local, so he can put us on the latest reports, best witnesses. Paul's a great jumping off point for us.
He recalled being just 12 when everything changed. People whispered about strange encounters back then, but many of those reports never reached the public. Yet it all leads back to the first chilling incident on Avery Brothers Road. It was August 24th, 1976. 3 teenagers were making their way along this isolated stretch of road. They thought it would be an ordinary summer night, until something stepped out of the darkness and turned their quiet drive into one of the most terrifying encounters Whitehall had ever seen.
Well, I said coming up to the Adirondacks, you're the first guy we need to come talk to because you've been following this stuff since the 70s, right?
Right, since I was about 12. There was a major incident here and a lot of reports that had gone unreported back then.
But the original big one was right here on Avery Road, the 3 teenagers.
They didn't just catch a glimpse, they saw it clearly. For a moment, everything went silent, as if the entire stretch of forest was holding its breath. Then, instinct hit. They didn't wait to study it. They didn't dare. Tires spit gravel as they tore down the road, racing toward town with the overwhelming certainty that the creature hadn't moved, that it was still standing there in the dark, watching them flee.
It was August 24th, 1976, when 3 teenagers were along this road here.
What's that? I don't know.
And they actually spotted a creature near that telephone pole. And they sped into town.
The Whitehall patrolman later described how he swept his spotlight across the tree line, and the beam caught something. According to the officer, close enough for him to see its massive frame before it vanished into the woods. But this was not the only encounter that night. Several others reported seeing the same figure, though many chose to remain anonymous. Even so, the incident quickly became a landmark case, placing both the creature and the officers involved squarely in the public eye.
The Whitehall patrolman shone a spotlight, and it caused it to run away screaming. The Whitehall patrolman said it came within 40 feet of his car, and there were other sightings made that night. A lot of them are still anonymous because of the ridicule factor with law enforcement, but it became a landmark case because we had a front-page story about Bigfoot and law enforcement.
The evidence was undeniable. Eric Miner, known as one of the region's most skilled artists, had taken the eyewitness accounts and transformed them into a chilling reality on paper. Every detail, the height, the posture, the unnerving proportions, was captured with startling accuracy. When the witnesses saw the drawing, a hush fell over the room. Some froze, others could barely look. The sketch didn't just represent the creature, it brought it back to life, as if the figure that had haunted that roadside night could step out from the shadows and into the room. But the story wasn't over.
In fact, Eric Miner, who's an excellent artist in this area, did a drawing of the creature. Based on the witness descriptions that were supplied to him, this is the creature that he came up with.
The witnesses ever look at this and say, this is what I saw?
Yep, I believe that's the closest you're going to get to what the creature looked like.
That is good.
Fantastic.
One of the most notable Bigfoot encounters in Whitehall is the Dan Gordon sighting. At the time, Gordon served as a police officer for the village. One evening, while driving towards South Bay with his partner, they were stopped in their tracks by an unexpected presence. A massive creature stood along the road, its gaze fixed directly on them. Next instant, it vanished, as suddenly as it had appeared. Though the encounter was brief, it left an indelible mark. Decades later, it remains one of the most compelling and widely discussed Bigfoot cases in the region, capturing the attention of both investigators and enthusiasts alike.
My name's Dan Gordon. I'm from Whitehall, New York. 1982, I was a police officer for the village of Whitehall. My partner and I were going towards South Bay, New York. This very large creature stood along the road, looked at us, 1, 2, and was gone.
Matt noticed movement in the distance and alerted his companion. As they focused on the shadowed figure, its presence became undeniable. For a brief moment, it was tempting to dismiss it, but the size and posture suggested something far more unusual, leaving them with a lingering sense of unease. Observers noted how significant impact these animals have on the landscape, transform rivers into meadows, reshaping their environment in ways few other mammals can. Their attention then shifted to a nearby structure. Upon closer inspection, it was confirmed almost without doubt that the dam they were observing had indeed been constructed by a beaver. The question of what or who has been moving through the forests of Whitehall remains unanswered. But one thing is clear: those who have encountered it, from terrified teenagers to seasoned officers, came face to face with something extraordinary, and none of them have any intention of venturing back into those shadows again. On Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, meet Mel Scan, an enrolled member at the accommodation and the storyteller behind this unbelievable encounter. Alongside his partner, Mel experienced something that defies explanation, a series of encounters so unusual it left them both stunned. DJ Gillian, who was also present, shared his first-hand account of the encounter, describing the moment with equal awe and excitement. Together, they invite viewers to witness this extraordinary experience, a story that challenges what we think we know about the unseen world.
My name's Mel Scahan, and I'm an enrolled member at the accommodation, and I have an event to share that happened to both me and my partner right here, and it blows my mind when you continue doing this and the type of communications that they want to have with you as you grow with them.
And I'm DJ Gian, and I was part of the encounter and love to share it with you.
As they ventured deeper, 3 of them were present: DJ, Mel, and a third companion. Mel had set strict instructions. If anything out of the ordinary occurred, they were to speak, no matter what. The person who experienced the phenomenon would recount it to the others, and any witnesses could confirm what they saw. There was to be no pointing, no chasing, only a steady, deliberate continuation of their investigation.
There were 3 of us, and DJ here was one of the 3. I was the second, and when we walked, I gave him the instructions. I said, if anything happens, just continue on with our normal voices, and the person that went through the experience just explained to everybody else what happened.
Their first sign of contact came in the form of a sudden wood knock. Moments later, a distant whistle pierced the air from the same direction off to their left, the very source of the initial wood knock.
And so the first communication that we had with them was a wood knock. And so I let them know what I had heard, and we're still walking. And I'm letting them know what I had heard and had asked if anybody else had heard it. And as we continued our walk, then a whistle was heard off in the same direction off to our left. And that was the direction that the wood knock came from as well.
Realizing that something unseen was closely monitoring their every move, they could make out part of the figure hidden behind a tree, Only the left side was visible. Every movement seemed deliberate, almost calculating, as the group held their breath. DJ stood frozen, awestruck by the advanced technology that allowed them to capture this encounter. In that moment, it was clear they were witnessing something far beyond the ordinary.
We're looking at it, and then you could see the head. You could tell it was standing. Part of him was standing behind a tree because we only saw the left side. We saw the head, saw the shoulders, and then saw the hand wrapped around the tree. And so we're looking, and then DJ is like just floored by the technology that we had at that time to be able to have this event.
That night was unlike anything they had ever experienced. Mel saw the figure for the first time, completely alone. DJ, stepping into the dark forest for the very first time, felt every shadow and sound magnified, as if the woods themselves were alive. What unfolded that night would change everything they thought they knew, and it had only just begun. That night, the team split into groups for a bold night hike. Some stayed at camp, while others, including Mel, ventured into the forest to sit quietly, listening for anything unusual. They found a small clearing, surrounded by shadows and the sounds of the night, every rustle and whisper amplifying the tension. At that moment, the forest seemed alive, and they had no idea what was watching them. As they moved deeper into the woods, a sharp, human-like whistle cut through the night. Mel confirmed. Someone else heard it too. The group realized they were being watched. Every shadow and sound now alive with tension. They're just urging them to keep moving, hearts racing with the unknown lurking around them.
And I hear loud, human, pursed lip whistle off to my left-hand side, clear as a bell, exactly what it was. I said, Mel, he goes, yes, whistle off to the left-hand side. I'm like, yes, somebody else heard it. Yeah, and I heard it. And he says, yeah, they're just checking us out. They're letting it know that we're here. Let's keep going.
As DJ swept the thermal scope across the clearing, a sudden burst of heat lit up the screen. Bright, almost unnaturally vibrant. Slowly, the outline became unmistakable. Every detail stood out against the night, the faint glow of eyes. In that moment, it was clear. Something intelligent, something alive, was watching them from the shadows. He had never been one for mystical trinkets or rituals, but the encounter opened his mind to something far stranger. The possibility that these beings possess abilities beyond human comprehension, senses and powers we can't begin to imagine. Could there be forces in the world that operate just beyond our understanding? And if so, what else might be watching, silently, just out of sight? Small Town Monsters brings the chilling story of Suzanne Ferrick from Western Holmes County, Ohio. In the dead of night, after weeks trapped inside by a bone-freezing cold, she stepped into the darkness. Bigfoot activity had shadowed her land for years, growing more intense, more haunting. And that night, she hoped to face it, if only for a fleeting moment. The channel is known for uncovering cryptids, folklore, and unexplained phenomena, blending careful research with stories that keep viewers on the edge of their seats.
I was in my house, kind of stuck in the house after a couple weeks because it was so cold, and I just had to get out. So at like 11:30 at night, I went outside, and it was 5 degrees and dropping, and I just decided for as long as I could stay out there, I was going to listen to some music. And of course, I always had the recorder hanging because the Bigfoot activity had been so fierce for the past couple years before that.
Later that night, the quiet of the snow-covered field was shattered by a presence she could feel before she could see it. From the base of the power line, a massive figure emerged in the deep snow. It wasn't an animal she recognized, nothing that belonged in that forest. Slowly, it shifted, a deliberate, haunting motion that seemed to echo through the still night. Then, without warning, a deafening sound echoed from the hillside nearby, shattering the stillness. The snow, the darkness, the towering presence, it all seemed alive, watching, waiting.
And then all of a sudden I look over, and at the bottom of the power line, 100 feet from our house, was a Sasquatch, right like this, looking right at me. And there was no trees next to it or anything. The snow was, probably a foot deep at that point, and it was just a complete outline of a Sasquatch, and it was doing this.
In that frozen moment, the world held its breath, and the terrifying reality of what lurked there became undeniable. A story told by Thomas Shea. One night, a worker at the train yard saw it, an enormous, large figure, step off a boxcar into the glowing yard. Every detail was visible, every movement deliberate. In that instant, the ordinary world vanished, and the impossible became real.
They don't want to be put on TV or nothing, but there was one. We have a train that comes through here. We got a train yard, like where they drop off boxes. And there's this one gentleman, he was working one night, and he said the train had just come in and dropped off some box cars and some cattle cars and stuff. They was empty. So he thought, he goes, he saw this figure come out. And he said, and it was all hairy. He goes, there was light there in this yard. He goes, I saw it clearly. It was hairy. It was at least 8 foot tall.
Ray Gardner shared a theory about the strange sightings that continue to puzzle the region. While not familiar with famous cases, he noted countless reports of creatures suddenly crossing roads or appearing in remote areas. Gardner believes these movements follow ancient patterns. In his view, these beings move almost instinctively, guided by generations of memory, haunting the same routes, unseen, yet ever present. It's as if the land itself remembers them, and they are simply following what has always been theirs. One witness refused to call it a Bigfoot, but he knew exactly what it wasn't. The sighting gripped him so strongly that he was determined to follow it. Then, in a shocking moment, he saw it cross the clearing, 2 massive legs covering the ground in deliberate steps, before vanishing into the shadows, leaving only a haunting question: what had he just seen? Drivers would round a dark, silent curve and freeze. There, in the middle of the road, lay a large figure, motionless under the faint glow of the asphalt. The air felt heavier, the night somehow darker, as if the ordinary world had vanished. Heat, instinct, or something far stranger. No one could be sure what it was doing there. Ray described how these creatures often follow the path of least resistance. They navigate with an almost uncanny awareness, blending into shadows while the world continues, unaware of their presence. And if they can glide through the world so silently, so deliberately, right beneath our very eyes, what other secrets might be lurking in the shadows, watching, waiting, and unseen? For DMAX UK, the BFRO team pushed into the wilderness knowing something was already watching them. To cover whatever was out there, they made a team call, split into 2 teams and covered both the ridge and the forest. With a prime calling spot marked on the map, they moved out, ready to see what answered back.
Why don't we split up into 2 teams?
Yeah.
Perhaps you guys go to the top of the ridge, and we'll Matt and I will go through the forest, and we'll find 2 spots where we might be able to hear each other.
I saw on the map a great place to do some calls, so I want to go up there and hit it.
All right, let's see what we can do.
They halted the moment the ground opened up before them, tracks layered over tracks, as if the forest had been busy only moments ago. Fresh footprints / prints cut through the soil, a silent warning that something far more dangerous was following close behind. Whatever hunted here was still near, and the team had just walked straight into its feeding ground.
There was tons of deer track. There was a lot of elk tracks. So predators congregate there too. Mountain lions, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, they all feed there.
They sent their howls across the forest, the sound folding through the ridgelines like a coded message meant for something hiding just out of sight. And every time the calls came from different points in the dark, the woods reacted faster, as if whatever was listening realized too late that the hunters were closing in around it.
Why don't you shoot one back at us?
Roger that, we're ready.
As they swept the thermal imager across the forest, a massive, unexpected heat signature suddenly appeared, its size and intensity unlike anything they'd seen before. For a moment, the forest seemed to freeze around them, every shadow and rustle charged with an unseen presence, as if whatever was out there knew it had just been spotted.
Bubba, I got something here. Come here. Bubba, come here. Look.
Oh.
As I was scanning, I actually came across a large blip, a signature on the thermal imager.
Has it not moved?
It hasn't moved, but it's definitely a heat signature.
It's right down in there.
The night started manageably, but the storm wasn't done with them. Rain pounded, snow whipped through the trees, and the forest felt alive, watching, waiting, daring them to push further. Every step became a risk, and soon it was clear. Tonight, the weather might be the real threat.
It was starting to become a safety factor.
We gave it a shot. Sometimes the weather beats us out, and tonight was one of those nights.
Okay.
All right.
I guess so.
Cliff Barrickman introduced the team to the town hall. They had come to this hotspot knowing the forest was alive with unseen activity. As he asked who had ever encountered a Sasquatch, hands rose slowly, the tension in the air thick with anticipation. A girl stood up, reliving the memory aloud. A piercing, otherworldly sound had shattered the stillness, making her heart race. Then, a huge, dark-shaped figure had streaked past, moving too fast to follow, disappearing into the shadows. And for a long moment, the forest itself seemed to hold its breath.
We heard a noise, kind of sounded a little bit screechy. Me and my sister saw something really big and black just run by and then just kind of disappeared.
Another witness recounting her story. She had been driving when she spotted something ahead and cautiously brought the car to a stop. Thinking she was far enough to be safe, she watched, frozen, as the figure suddenly charged toward her, a massive shadow tearing through the trees, moving faster than anything she had imagined, leaving them both holding their breath. Under the cover of night, they set a cage, a tiny trap for something massive lurking in the shadows. Then, without warning, a huge, dark shape tore through the camp, moving faster than the eye could follow. The camera was rolling, for whatever had been drawn to it finally revealed itself. About 10 days earlier, 3 friends had gone fishing, the night calm and still, until a haunting, inhuman scream tore through the darkness. From the shadows, a pair of glowing eyes locked onto them, and slowly, a towering figure emerged, easily 8 or 9 feet tall. The next morning, they returned to the spot, only to find enormous footprints pressed into the soft earth, tracing the path the creature had taken, a silent reminder of what had been there.
My 2 friends sitting right here, we're going fishing, and all of a sudden we hear a scream just like on the vocalizations on that tape that we heard. You could see a set of glowing eyes. And then slowly stood up till about between 8 and 9 feet tall. The next morning we went back there, and exactly where we first spotted this thing and in the exact same steps that where this creature had walked, we happened to find this huge footprint. We casted it.
All right.
The question of what haunted the forest remains unanswered. Were those glowing eyes and towering figures merely tricks of shadow and light, or was something far more elusive and dangerous stalking the team? The night may have ended, but the memory of what they encountered will linger long in their minds. Gaz, the fearless explorer behind Grizzly Gaz, discovers a place that sends chills down the spine. It looks eerie, even in daylight. As he decides to camp there, the question lingers: what secrets will the night reveal? As night falls, Gaz struggles to pitch the tent in the growing gloom. It's not completely dark yet, but enough for shapes to blend into the shadows. The faint silhouette of the tent is the only hint that someone, or something, has claimed this spot.
You can hardly see the tent. Now it's not pitch black yet, but it's dark enough. The only thing that you can see, look, that gives it away.
He looks down at the clearing, and it doesn't just seem dark. It feels downright eerie. One tree twists unnaturally, its branches like the bones of a skeleton reaching up from the earth. Shadows stretch and shift across the ground, almost as if they're alive, and every rustle in the underbrush hints at unseen eyes watching his every move.
Oh, it doesn't half look creepy down here. The tree looks like a skeleton, and we're all like bivvies in it and stuff.
Gaz creeps forward, the ground beneath him shadowed and strange. The light from his flashlight cuts harshly through the darkness, but it does little to ease the unease. Shapes twist in the corners of his vision, and the forest seems to close in around him, every sound amplified, every movement suspect. Down here, the woods don't just feel empty, they feel alive.
Definitely feels creepy in here. Does feel creepy down here, but that's because I've got light shining in my face and I can't see out.
Gaz makes his way back up to the tent, each step stirring the shadows around him. What was meant to be cozy had instead scorched him with relentless heat. Now, the tent looms faintly in the darkness, its outline ghostly in the dim light. Yet the forest doesn't feel safe. Every rustle and whisper in the trees hints that something unseen is watching, waiting.
Let's go back up to the tent. So I did a hot tent camp last week, and that was brilliant, that, but I don't think it's for me in that. It was absolutely scorchio inside the tent.
Twigs snapped somewhere above his camp, sending a shiver down Gaz's spine. A low, guttural sound followed, like a pig, yet he knew no such creature roamed these woods.
Why is this light gone off? Oh, there we go.
Tension coiled in his chest, twisting into a mix of fear and irritation, and he stepped out to investigate, unaware that the moment would turn sharply into terror. His flashlight caught movement too late. An arrow-like object sliced through the darkness, embedding itself exactly where he had been just seconds before. Whatever lurked in the forest had stopped warning and started hunting.
Oh, dear. Look at this pillow. Oh, Fendi! Fendi! Come here, mate. Oh, you're alright. What the f was that? Place. Need to pack up and get out of here.
Gaz left the tent behind, but the tension didn't fade. Every shadow seemed heavier, every sound sharper. Had it been his imagination, or had something truly been moving just beyond the light? His safe haven had transformed into a stage for the unknown, a chilling reminder that the wilderness can hide eyes that never blink and presences that never rest.
Wow, what a crazy night that was, eh? When I was packing up, I managed to get my my sleeping bag and everything and get that in my backpack.
On Salish Sasquatch, we explore evidence, encounters, and the mysteries surrounding these beings. In this episode, we introduce a rare case, a family with years of ongoing Sasquatch activity. Their experiences mirror much of what our team has documented in the field. Now, we connect to today's feature interview.
Hello and welcome to Salish Sasquatch, where we share Sasquatch evidence as well as encounters. Today is a rare one. We're going to be interviewing a family that has had ongoing Sasquatch activity for many, many years with the same group of Sasquatch. Their story is very similar to ours. There's a lot of behavioral things that align with what we have experienced, and I'm very excited about this. Not only are you going to hear from the parents, but you're also going to hear from their 12-year-old daughter. Now, we also heard that one of her classes is going to be watching this video, so we would like to dedicate this video to Mrs. Reed's English class. I hope that you guys are the generation that embraces the truth of these creatures so that you can know about the biggest mystery of our time.
The video opened with Mrs. Reed's with her friends setting up camp, joking about the remoteness of the spot, but the silence of the woods hinted at something else.
Okay. So we're camped in this spot, and I had my neighbor Jeff and his girlfriend with us. It was Chris's birthday weekend. He wasn't here yet, so it was just us. I was staying in their trailer with them that night.
As she explored the area, a strange stillness settled over the trees, making every snap of a twig feel amplified. That night, while staying in the trailer with her neighbors, the calm quickly turned uneasy, as if unseen eyes were watching their every move. She crept through the dark forest, the silence pressing in around her. Out of nowhere, something shuffled backward ahead, deliberate and heavy, stopping her in her tracks. When she lifted her eyes without raising the flashlight, a massive figure loomed only feet away, silent and unmoving, its presence chilling her to the bone. Frozen with shock, she whispered frantic apologies and slowly backed toward the camper, each step weighed down by fear and the unknown that lingered in the shadows.
I'm like this, and I'm probably walking about this speed, and I'm silent. Something in front of me shuffles backwards. I mean, you heard him shuffle. He stopped probably about here, and I was about me to you at this point, maybe a little bit closer. And I heard him shuffle, so I looked up. And I didn't shine my light up, I just looked up. And he was right here, and I went, "Huh!" And he went, "Huh!" And I went, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And I looked right down, and I turned around, and I apologized to all.
Easily twice her width, a massive presence that seemed to command the darkness. Its arms hung motionless at its sides, eerily still, as if it were carved from the shadows themselves. She kept low, never daring to raise her light, but the faint glimpse of its mouth revealed jagged teeth, sharp and deliberate. Its features were unnervingly human, yet utterly wrong, leaving her certain this was a creature unlike anything she had ever seen.
He was about the width of two of me. He was humongously wide looking. Now his arms were at his sides. He didn't ever move his arms. He just stood like this. I couldn't, because I was lower than him. I didn't get a look at his eyes, and I didn't ever shine my light up. I saw that his mouth was open, and you could see the outline of his teeth. His nose was not, it didn't look like an ape.
That night, Mrs. Reeds heard the tent shaking, slow and deliberate, as if something was testing it. Half asleep, her daughter, Elisa Rose, looked up and saw a face staring down at her from just above the tent. It wasn't the face of any creature she had ever imagined. Tight, blocky, almost human, and chilling in its stillness. Frozen, Elisa Rose could only watch as the figure silently observed, leaving an unforgettable sense of dread.
My mom heard shaking of like where you put the tent part down, then you throw it back up to like cover the tent up. She heard it shaking, and I was like still passed out. But I looked up like barely, and then the face was like kind of open over the tent, just staring at me. I didn't like it. It was funny.
What did it look like?
So, like, how do I explain it? If you look at a regular Bigfoot drawing, the face is more usually out, but it really wasn't. It was more like in. If that makes any sense.
Like more like a human face?
Yeah, more.
Not like a caveman?
It was more like blocky shape.
Today is a rare one. We're going to be interviewing a family that has had ongoing Sasquatch activity for many, many years with the same group of Sasquatch. Their story is very similar to ours. There's a lot of behavioral things that align with what we have experienced, and I'm very excited about this.
Something tugged at the tent cover at the foot, deliberate and heavy. She had secured it against the rain, but this wasn't nature. It was something watching, waiting. Every time they camped alone, that same presence seemed impossibly close, just beyond reach. Her heart pounded as she realized, Whatever it was, it had been right there all along, never leaving.
Like something was grabbing because at the foot of the tent I had the cover laid because I knew that we'd had a little bit of rain, and so I was running every night to put it up. When we camp alone, when it's just Liv and I out here, they are always.
The tent shook violently, and Elisa bolted into the pitch black night, heart racing. With only the faint moonlight to guide her, she stumbled blindly, disoriented and terrified. When she glanced back, a massive, silent figure loomed just outside the tent, frozen and watching. No one has explained what it was, and the chilling encounter has remained a mystery ever since.
So, basically, I was sitting in the tent. I can't remember what I was doing. I think I was just chilling. So, I felt something press its hand against the, the tent. And I went, "Oh!" And I just poked it. It put its hand back and I just went, "Pow!" I put my hand against the tent. And I felt some finger thing just poke my hand again. And we kept sitting there doing this for how long?
I don't know. It was a while.
A while.
Though Elisa and her family made it through the night alive, the memories of that presence lingered. Was it simply an unknown animal, or something far more deliberate watching them from the shadows? Meet Engelo, the explorer behind the YouTube channel Exploring with Engelo. In his videos, he takes viewers deep into forgotten places, uncovering mysteries hidden in the shadows of the wilderness. But returning to the infamous would soon remind him that out here, you are never truly alone.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new adventure, new old place, sort of. So, we are actually back at the possible murderer woods. We being myself and Brad. I know you can't see him in the darkness because he's hiding for some reason all the way back there. But
sorry, bro.
Yeah, so we're back, but we're going to do something a little bit different tonight.
Engelo and his friend Bran begin moving cautiously down the narrow path, determined to locate the elusive spot. Strange sounds echo around them, they've caught on camera before. But it's not just him. They've encountered other unexplainable phenomena, shadows that seem alive. They can't shake the feeling that these woods are haunted.
Anyways, we're going to start heading down this path and see if we can find this spot, and maybe some other clues of this possible murderer that we've caught on camera here before. We know he's out here, we keep hearing weird sounds, we've had weird encounters, not only with him, but with whatever else is going on out here. I do believe that these woods are...
Eyes narrowing at the ground ahead. Strange impressions marred the earth, close together, moving in a pattern that made the hairs on his neck stand on end. Something, or someone, had been here, and they were far too deliberate to be random.
Yo, did you notice these two?
What?
Are these coyote tracks?
It might just be somebody's dog.
Yeah.
Or coyotes, one or the other.
Hopefully.
Yeah, they're very close to one another.
As he moved forward, the strange noises lingered in the air, teasing the edges of perception, but the woods remained empty. The trail seemed endless, twisting into shadows that felt almost alive. He kept the camera rolling, unwilling to let go of the unknown that might be watching just out of sight.
Really weird, that's for damn sure, but yeah, I don't know what those sounds were. That was kind of weird, but we didn't encounter anybody, didn't see anybody, so I don't know. But this trail goes on for quite some time, it looks like. It is what it is. I guess I'll just keep recording just in case. But
elusive, silent, and just beyond sight, the presence kept Engelo constantly alert. Every crack of a twig, every whisper of wind made him tense, heart racing with uncertainty. Though nothing appeared to make a move, the feeling of being watched refused to leave. The woods had grown hostile in his mind, and even after the figure vanished, the unease lingered. Alone in the forest, the unknown can feel almost alive.
What were they doing?
I don't know. I just literally saw someone and then I heard them moving away. Hello? Could have sworn I saw someone, like a person, right back there.
Then came the sound, something shifting just out of sight. Angelo's gut tightened. There was something undeniably ominous here. The air felt heavy, charged with an unsettling energy, as if the woods themselves were hiding secrets. Whether it was a stranger hiding in the shadows or remnants of darker deeds long buried, the place radiated a chilling sense of danger, the kind that made every step feel like a risk.
There's definitely something ominous here. Yeah, there's definitely something off about this place. Whether it's some random dude living out here, or the fact that there could be dead bodies from buried people. I mean, ideally, I don't want to give anybody any crazy ideas, but ideally, this would be a spot to bury a body. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Angelo scanned the ground, noticing the countless footprints scattered across the path, unease creeping into his voice. Then, faint and almost impossible to place, a whisper brushed past his ears. His heart skipped a beat. Whether it was the wind or something else, he couldn't tell, and the silence that followed felt heavier than ever.
Well, someone came through here. That's for sure. Lots of footsteps. I could have sworn I just heard a whisper. Hello?
The path back to camp felt longer with every step, shadows stretching like dark fingers across the trail. A shiver ran through the air, heavy and watchful, though the silence seemed to push back. The place was undeniably haunted, lingering with a presence that refused to be ignored.
Oh, that's creepy. Oh, we definitely 100% know this place is haunted. That is for sure. Oh boy.
Deep into the night, a faint, flickering glow appeared far off, pulsing through the darkness like a signal from the unknown. Its source was impossible to place, yet it drew attention, unsettling and mysterious. The light blinked and vanished, leaving only the silence of the woods and the uneasy feeling that something was watching from the shadows.
Kept seeing this blinking like light down there. Couldn't figure out what the hell it was. It was just a random blinking light. It was the strangest thing. Now I haven't seen it since. So no rhyme or reason.
Although he made it back from the trail, the question of what lurked in the shadows remains unanswered. Was it merely a trick of the night, or something far more sinister, watching from just beyond sight? Meet Sarah Brown, the host of Salish Sasquatch. In her videos, she leads viewers deep into the forests of the Pacific Northwest, exploring remote areas with a team of seasoned Bigfoot researchers. But returning to a familiar site for a large campout would soon remind her that in these woods, you are never truly alone. The morning winds blew across the ridge, whispering through the trees as if the forest itself were alive. Larry and Jonathan paused, coffee in hand, when sharp, deliberate knocks began echoing from the drop-off ahead, one after another, cutting through the stillness. The forest seemed to hold its breath, and with every echo, the feeling grew that something unseen was watching, waiting just beyond the shadows.
So the first morning that Larry and I were here, we were walking the road having a cup of coffee, and right down this way, over here, it drops down, and we were hearing knocks, just single knocks, about every 40 seconds or so, and it was going on for about 15 minutes.
Yeah. And we walked slowly while we were listening. We walked all the way up to about that bend there of the road.
Damon Irons remembered a day that felt strangely alive. Early in the morning, he and Ed Fenney wandered along the ridge when faint, deliberate knocks began echoing through the forest. Some came from one side, some from another, bouncing unpredictably across the hollow below. Damon knew this terrain well, a deep, sunken dip in the land where shadows clung, and every sound seemed to carry a warning from something unseen.
Yesterday was a pretty interesting day for us. In the morning, it started out with Jonathan and Larry were up kind of early and walking around over here, and we recorded like a couple, started hearing knocks right along this road that we're standing along, down in here. Some over here, some over there. The last couple days I've been driving by it on this thing. You can kind of look down into it, and this looks like topographically, this is a big low dipped area. It goes down quite a ways.
After the morning knocks, Ed and Damon knew they had to investigate. As they approached the hollow, it became clear that something, or someone, moved through this area on a regular basis. Fallen logs had been disturbed, the earth dug into, and every branch along a narrow trail had been snapped or pushed aside at just the right height, as if an unseen presence had passed through, leaving a quiet but undeniable trail of its passage. For a moment, it seemed to have stopped. Damon and Ed sat in tense silence, convinced the disturbance had passed. But then, without warning, the sounds returned, sharp, deliberate, coming from just beyond the clearing.
And after we got the knocks in the morning, Ed and I decided that we were going to go in there. And you can tell just by looking around down there that there's something is there on a very regular basis, just living. We found some logs knocked over and kind of dug into. We came across a trail where like every branch was knocked off the side of the tree to about this high.
The forest seemed to shift around them, as if whatever was out there was testing their patience, watching, waiting. Janice described moving along the narrow path toward Virgil's camp when the quiet suddenly broke. As she passed a small tree near the edge of the grass, a single, forceful knock rang out, wood striking wood from just beyond the drop-off. The area below had already been active with repeated knocking sounds, and the night before, another unmistakable strike had come from higher up the slope, reinforcing the feeling that something was circling the camp from multiple directions.
So I was walking on this path over here through the grass, heading over to Virgil's camp, and right when I got to like where that little tree is right there, I just heard like this power knock, just wood on wood, just right down over the edge here.
And we've been getting knocks constantly from down along this area. And then last night, I got one from right up there.
Lorenzo noticed the strange echoing knocks coming from deep in the forest and hesitated to investigate. Later, driven by curiosity, he edged closer to the source, discovering disturbed branches and flattened earth along a hidden trail, calling it the work of some mischievous animal, unaware that the forest had far darker plans for the night ahead. After a day filled with echoing knocks, disturbed trails, and unseen watchers,
Jimmy did, I did. It was about 11:19, and it was like a ooh-wee sound, like way back down in here.
Back down this way.
Yeah, that's.
Did you? We need to talk to.
I talked to Jimmy about it.
the team can only wonder, what exactly is moving through these forests? Is it merely the wildlife they've always known, or something far more intelligent and far more dangerous, hiding just beyond the shadows? On DMAX UK, Bryce hunts the truth behind the most mysterious wilderness sightings. This journey takes him deep into the forest to meet Rob, a lifelong member of the Chippewa tribe. Unlike fleeting encounters, Rob and his father experienced something they could not explain, a close, chilling encounter with a creature they believe was Bigfoot. Deep in the dense forest, Bryce listens as Rob recounts the moment everything changed. While hunting with his father, heavy footsteps suddenly closed in from behind. The presence moved alongside them, then exploded through the brush.
Hey, thanks for meeting me out here.
Oh, yeah, no problem. My pleasure.
This place is incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty thick out here.
So, I understand you have an encounter story that you'd be willing to share with me.
Yeah, absolutely. One was when I was hunting with my dad. And as we were going down this deer trail, we started hearing heavy footsteps coming up behind us. And at the time, it sounded like it was coming down the same trail we were walking. It kind of caught up to us and then started paralleling us. So it kind of would push through these bushes into the opening where we were at.
Mm-hmm.
They saw it. Massive shoulders, a broad chest, followed by a deep, bone-shaking roar that echoed through the trees.
And that's when we saw it. I mean, we could just see just big shoulders and chest. And all of a sudden, we heard this roar. I mean, it was a rib cage rattling roar. It felt like the tree shook, and it went right through your body.
The creature ran, then dropped into a wide squat, leaving both men frozen, haunted by an encounter they would never forget. Bryce asks about its size. Rob hesitates, then explains his 6-foot-tall father barely reached its waist, making it at least 8, maybe 9 feet tall, with a massive barrel-shaped chest and powerful frame. Every detail is burned into Rob's memory, and Bryce feels the weight of that presence, as if the forest itself still holds the giant within its shadows.
Oh, right, Rob. When I usually work with witnesses, at this point I'm a little nervous because I'm about to show you what I've been working on. But I'm actually pretty confident this time around because you really remembered a lot of details. So, you know, I'm really excited for you to see this. Are you ready to see this guy again?
Yeah, let's see it. Holy smokes. Yeah. Wow, that's incredible.
That looks like what you saw, Rob.
Yeah, yeah. That's incredible. It's crazy. It's like you pulled it right out of my brain. That's exactly how the eyebrows looked. They went up like that and then back down. Wow.
The encounter still grips Rob like a living shadow, every detail seared into memory. Bryce and the team take a rare step, bringing in a trained forensic artist to capture the creature exactly as Rob saw it. Nothing is dismissed. Every detail could bring them one step closer to proving the existence of something the world has long doubted. The memory lingered. Something massive had moved through the forest, leaving an impression that refused to fade. Bryce brought in Michael Montoya, a master forensic artist known for turning fleeting memories into lifelike sketches.
I'm completely blown away by my conversation with Rob. The fact that he can recall so many details of his encounter is truly amazing.
It's like it's just burned in my brain.
Really?
I don't know if it's because of the adrenaline, but it's like a photo image in my brain.
Wow.
Yeah.
You said you might have had another encounter as well?
Yeah, so later on, in 1992, it was a year after I graduated.
So this is 10 years later?
Yeah, this was 10 years later. So I got together with some friends.
As Rob described the creature, Montoya captured every shadow and shape. With each stroke, the image seemed to breathe, emerging from the depths of the forest itself. By the end, what was once a memory now stared back from the page, just as real and unsettling as the day it happened. The creature was unmistakably human-like, more human than ape. Its chest jutted forward like a ledge, sloping sharply from the collarbone, while massive trapezius muscles stretched almost to its ears. Every detail lingered in Rob's memory, vivid and undeniable, as if burned into his mind.
Something like a professional sketch artist draw what you saw?
Sure. I never thought about that.
Rob's memory of his Bigfoot encounter is so strong that it gives us this incredible opportunity to bring in a trained artist to create an image of Bigfoot that just for once is not blurry.
This is exactly what I was looking for.
But we can't rule anything out. We need to think outside the box. We need to try everything. Any tiny bit of information.
The image of it in the forest felt alive again, tangible and haunting, impossible to shake. When the sketch appeared, Rob's reaction was immediate. Astonishment etched across his face.
And his trap muscles on behind actually came up to where his ears were.
Interesting.
Man, when you zero in on just what these things look like, it's incredible the amount of detail a witness remembers.
Yeah.
Every detail matched his memory, down to the sweep of the eyebrows and the shape of the face. Seeing it again brought back the fear, the awe, the full magnitude of the encounter. For the first time, what had lived only in his mind now stood before him, vivid and undeniable. Now, with the sketch staring back at them, every detail vivid, every shadow alive, one question remains.
How does it make you feel seeing that?
It's just like, it just all comes rushing back. I mean, I feel like I'm shaking right now, just telling that story. That's amazing.
I was really blown away by Michael's sketch because it's one thing to hear about a witness's Bigfoot encounter, and it's another thing altogether to see the creature they were talking about.
Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Could this be the closest anyone has ever come to proving that something truly extraordinary still walks these forests? Salish Sasquatch presents verified sightings and first-hand encounters of Sasquatch across the Pacific Northwest. In this video, we present a carefully curated list of our most notable guests and memorable encounters, highlighting stories that have resonated most with our audience. We begin with Dean Parker of the Macau tribe in Nebe, Washington, whose insights provide a unique perspective on the region's long-standing Sasquatch traditions.
Welcome to Salish Sasquatch, where we share evidence as well as encounters. I've been wanting to put together this video for a while now. This video is a compilation of our very favorite guests, our favorite encounters, channel favorites, and all of that wrapped into one video. So these are in no particular order, but we will start with Dean Parker of the Macau tribe in Nebe, Washington.
Dean Parker, known as Papado of Nebe, recalls a night that still chills him to this day. Driving back to Skokomish through the dark, empty stretch of Humpt, something appeared on the road. A figure emerged from the shadows, moving with an eerie, unnatural grace. It took 3 deliberate steps across the road and then vanished, swallowed by the darkness, leaving only a haunting silence behind.
All right, my name is Dean Parker. I'm from Nebe, and a lot of people call me Papado. And I'm going to tell you about my encounter with the Sasquatches. My first one was driving back to Skokomish, and we was going through tulips there, and it was during the nighttime, and I come up on the road, and I told Lametta, I says, "See that?" "Yes." "You know what that is?" "Yes, it's a Sasquatch," and it took about 3 steps across the road, and it was...
What began as an ordinary moment quickly turned unsettling. From somewhere in the distance, a sharp whistling sound broke the silence. It didn't fade. It repeated, growing closer each time, deliberate, almost directed. With the wind pressing against his face, the realization set in that whatever was out there was no longer far away. The air felt wrong, and instinct warned that the situation was about to take a dangerous turn.
Then I heard this whistling noise out there in the distance. This is not going to be good. And I kept on hearing whistle, getting a little bit closer, whistling at me, and I knew they were really getting... I was walking.
That moment became one of his most unforgettable experiences, an encounter with not one, but 2 Sasquatches, leaving a lasting impression that would stay with him long after the night ended.
Oh, that was my experience with the...
Long before he knew the legends of Sasquatch, Johnny grew up in Missouri, a childhood untouched by television and the tales it might have told. When his family moved to Washington State, the dense forests and rugged wilderness became the backdrop for a childhood adventure unlike any other. On one of his first backpacking trips, a dozen kids and a single adult, the stage was unknowingly set for encounters that would change everything he thought he knew about the world around him.
I grew up in Missouri, and I didn't have TV. We didn't have TV when I was a kid, so I didn't know anything about Sasquatch or Bigfoot. And my family moved to Washington State, and one of the first trips I did as a kid was I went on a backpacking trip with, I think there were 12 of us kids and 1 adult, and
while trekking through the rugged trails of Mount Three Fingers in the Boulder River wilderness, an eerie sound shattered the quiet. Something slammed against a tree with a force that no human could match, rattling the forest with rapid, thunderous blows. Even those who had grown up among these woods felt a shiver run down their spines. The group froze, hearts pounding, as the hair on their arms and the back of their necks prickled with an instinctive, chilling fear.
we were hiking on Mount Three Fingers in the Boulder River wilderness, and something in the woods pounded on a tree right next to us, and it was inhumanly loud sound. No person could have done it, and I think it knocked the number of people in our group on the tree. It was boom, 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 real fast, real loud. And I grew up, playing in the woods, and I never heard anything like that. And, everybody there, we just froze.
Further up the road, two campers emerged, their headlights cutting through the darkness as they made their way down the hill. But something, or someone, was following them. A tall, unnervingly slender figure appeared on the road, moving with an almost unnatural grace. When he pointed it out to his friend, they brushed it off, assuming it was just the campers. But his eyes stayed locked on the figure as it came fully into view, impossible to ignore, and the forest seemed to hold its breath.
So they were coming, the two people that had camped further up the road, they came walking down the hill, they had their headlights on, and they were about over here on my left when I saw a tall figure following them on the road. It was very slender, but very tall. And I remember saying, "Hey, I see something up there." And my buddy was over there, he said, "Oh yeah, that's the, so-and-so, that's those people that are friends." And I was like, "No, they're over here." And everyone just kind of ignored me. But I watched this figure walk into view.
Sonia approached the encounter with logic, carefully testing every explanation. A bear didn't make sense, as none of the usual warning signs were present, and it didn't feel like a deer, another animal, or even a person in the woods. One final possibility crossed her mind, one she resisted at first: Sasquatch. That unsettling realization, paired with the location and behavior she witnessed, drew her into a mystery she could no longer ignore.
Through and find a provisional hypothesis for what it is you're experiencing. And so I'm like, okay, well, if it was a bear, I would expect these things to occur. Bears are big enough to break branches. Bears would slap the ground with their forepaws, but I would have expected to hear huffing or jaw popping. Yeah. Black bears almost never try to intimidate people, and if they do, they make really obvious bluff charges. You probably would see a bear. I didn't think it was a deer, but I said, okay, well, if it was a deer, here's what I'd expect. Was it a wild cat? Was it a creepy person? And then my final one that I didn't want to even put down was it a squad?
Sarah Brown is a witness whose account stands out for its clarity and detail. During her encounter, she observed a Sasquatch from a distance that allowed her to study its form, coloration, and movement with unusual precision. Her careful observations and the drawings she later created offer a rare and compelling perspective that adds depth to her experience and credibility to her account.
Until Friday, May 10th, which was actually the day of the Aurora Borealis, I saw a Sasquatch that was standing across a field that was about 200 yards away from us. And what I saw was very two-toned in color. It was similar to like an orangutan red. An orangutan red all over here.
The sighting lasted only seconds. As she spoke, her attention drifted for just a moment, long enough for something across the field to catch her eye. She looked up, locked onto the figure, and then, just as suddenly, it was gone. Like so many Sasquatch encounters, it vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but the lingering question of what had truly been there. Yet this isn't where the story ends. There are still forests we haven't dared to enter, and eyes in the shadows that refuse to blink away. Stay with us, because what's coming next on Scary Encounter will challenge everything you think you know about the unseen.